The galaxy had a long memory for wars. Across hundreds of star systems, countless species told stories about the same name, spoken with fear, bitterness, and grudging respect. General Elara Voss. To some, she was a savior. To many more, she was a nightmare. Entire fleets had surrendered when her warships appeared on the edge of their systems. Rebellions collapsed the moment her name entered the battlefield reports. She commanded the Dominion's most powerful armada, and she had never lost a campaign. But Elara Voss had one weakness. She refused to obey the Council. Not openly, not recklessly, but enough that the leaders of the Galactic Dominion had begun to fear the very weapon they had created. And so they devised a solution. A political marriage. A way to chain their unstoppable general to something fragile. Something controllable. Something human. The problem with General Elara Voss. The Dominion Council gathered in a chamber carved into the heart of a floating citadel above the capital world of 8 Hyun Prime. 16 leaders from 16 species sat around the circular table. A hologram of General Elara Voss hovered above the center. Tall, silver-skinned, crimson eyes, long black armor etched with the insignia of 100 conquered systems. She was not beautiful in the traditional sense. She was terrifying. Counselor Redhis, a reptilian diplomat with scales like polished jade, spoke first. Her victories are excessive. That is what generals do, replied another counselor. Yes, Redhis said carefully, but generals are supposed to remain loyal. A silence followed. Everyone understood the implication. Elara Voss had become too powerful. She commanded fleets that answered to her personally. Her soldiers adored her. And she had recently ignored a council order to withdraw from a war zone, choosing instead to win the war in a single brutal week. The Dominion gained 3 systems. The council lost control. We cannot remove her, said Counselor Vulcan, a towering insectoid diplomat. Her admirals would revolt. We cannot imprison her or assassinate her. So we bind her. The table lights flickered as a new hologram appeared. A human. Young. Plain. Brown-haired. A civilian. His name was Daniel Mercer. Humans are politically neutral, Vulcan continued. Weak militarily. Economically dependent. A perfect partner for a symbolic union. And the general? Vulcan smiled in the slow, unsettling way of his species. She has no choice. Daniel Mercer's bad day. Daniel Mercer had planned to spend the morning fixing a broken water recycler in the mining colony of Haven, 12. Instead, a Dominion cruiser arrived. He was arrested, interrogated, cleaned, dressed in formal clothing, and then placed on a shuttle to the capital of the galaxy. No one explained why. By the time he stood inside the massive throne hall of 8 Hyun Prime, Daniel felt like he had fallen into someone else's life. The hall was enormous. Rows of alien dignitaries filled the chamber. At the far end stood a tall woman in black armor. Even from a distance, Daniel could feel the tension around her. People kept their distance, like prey instinctively avoiding a predator. A voice boomed through the chamber. Daniel Mercer of Earth. Step forward. Daniel obeyed, mostly because several armed guards encouraged him. He stopped before the council platform. What did I do? He asked nervously. Counselor Redhis leaned forward. You have done nothing. That's reassuring. Today, Redhis continued, you will perform a great service for the Dominion. Daniel swallowed. What kind of service? The doors behind him opened. Heavy footsteps echoed across the floor. The room grew quiet. Daniel turned. General Elara Voss was walking toward him. Up close, she was even more intimidating. Nearly 2 meters tall. Crimson eyes that seemed to measure everything around her. Armor still marked with burn scars from recent battles. She stopped in front of him, looked down, studied him silently. Daniel cleared his throat. Hi.
She didn't respond.
Counselor Redis spoke. General Elara Voss. Her gaze never left Daniel. Yes. The Dominion Council has arranged a political alliance to strengthen unity across member species. Elara's expression didn't change. And you will marry this human. The entire hall waited. Daniel blinked. Wait, what? The most dangerous bride in the galaxy. Daniel expected shouting, or explosions, or possibly immediate death. Instead, Elara simply stared at the council. You arranged a marriage without consulting me. It is a strategic necessity. I do not require marriage. This is not a request. The words hung in the air like a blade. For a moment, Daniel thought she might kill everyone in the room. Instead, she looked down at him again. He raised both hands. Just to clarify, I was also not consulted. Her eyes narrowed slightly. You are afraid. Extremely. The council continued speaking. The ceremony will take place immediately. Daniel turned toward them. Maybe we should discuss this? No one listened. The chamber erupted into ritual preparations. Holographic banners appeared. Priests stepped forward. Music began to play. Daniel leaned toward Elara. So, are you going to kill me? She considered the question.
No.
Oh, good. A pause. You are not responsible for this. That's the nicest thing anyone has said today. The priest approached. Do you accept this union under the authority of the Dominion Council? Elara didn't look away from Daniel. Yes. Daniel blinked again. Wait, that was fast. The priest turned to him. And you? Daniel looked around the massive hall filled with armed guards. Then back at the deadliest general in the galaxy. Well, I don't think saying no is an option. The priest smiled.
Correct.
Married to a war legend. 3 hours later, Daniel Mercer was officially married to General Elara Voss. The galaxy celebrated. The council congratulated itself. And Daniel moved into the most heavily fortified warship in Dominion history. The Dread Carrier Obsidian Crown. It was larger than cities, filled with tens of thousands of soldiers, all of whom were now staring at their general's human spouse. Daniel stepped into Elara's private command chamber. She stood at the window, watching the stars. I'm sorry about all this, he said. She didn't turn. You did not orchestrate it. Still feels awkward. Silence stretched between them. Finally, she asked, Why are you not angry? Daniel shrugged. I am a little, but I'm also still alive, which feels like a win. That made her glance at him. You are strange. Humans get that a lot. He looked around the enormous room. So, what happens now? Elara folded her arms. The council believes marriage will make me more controllable. And will it?
No.
Daniel grinned slightly. Good. That was the first moment she almost smiled. The council's mistake. The council expected the marriage to weaken Elara, to distract her, to make her dependent. They were wrong. Within weeks, something strange happened. The obsidian crown became calmer. Soldiers noticed the change first. Their terrifying general still commanded battles with ruthless precision. But now she returned to her quarters afterward, where a human waited with food, conversation, and occasionally terrible jokes. Daniel didn't fear her the way others did. He asked questions no one else dared. Why do you fight so much? Because the galaxy requires it. That sounds like a terrible reason. She started thinking about things she hadn't questioned in years. And slowly, the most dangerous general in the galaxy began making different choices. Less destruction. More diplomacy. Fewer massacres. More negotiated victories. Her reputation didn't weaken. It evolved. She became something far more powerful. A commander who could win wars without destroying entire civilizations. And the galaxy noticed. The council noticed too. And they began to panic, because the human they had chosen to control Elara was actually changing her. The rebellion 2 years after the marriage, the inevitable happened. Several outer systems rebelled against Dominion rule. The council demanded total annihilation. Burn their fleets. Destroy their worlds. Make an example. Elara listened silently. Then she said, "No," the council chamber erupted. "You defy us again?" "Yes." They attacked Dominion forces. They attacked tax convoys. Elara replied calmly, "Because your policies starve them. You will follow orders." Elara leaned forward slightly. "No," Counselor Vulcan hissed. "Then we will replace you." She nodded. "You may try." The connection ended. Daniel looked up from the couch. "Let me guess," he said. "They want genocide." "Yes." "And you said no." "Yes." Daniel smiled. "Good." She studied him. "You are very calm for someone married to the galaxy's most wanted traitor." He shrugged. "I married the most dangerous general alive. I figured things would get interesting eventually." For the first time since the war began, Elara laughed. The galaxy regrets everything. The council launched their backup plan. They sent fleets to arrest Elara Voss. It was a mistake, because the soldiers of the Obsidian Crown had a choice. Follow the council, or follow the commander who had led them to victory for 20 years. The decision took about 5 seconds. The Dominion fleets arrived expecting obedience. Instead, they faced a united armada, led by the deadliest general in galactic history. And standing beside her, on the command bridge, was a human civilian holding a cup of tea. Daniel watched the enemy ships appear on sensors. "So," he said casually. "Yeah," Elara replied. "Your bosses seem upset." "Very." He sipped his tea. "You know this is technically my fault." "Yes." "You regret marrying me?" She looked at the stars, then at the approaching fleets, then at him. "No." Outside the viewport, the Obsidian Crown's engines ignited. The Dominion Council had tried to control their greatest weapon. Instead, they had given her something far more dangerous. A reason to fight for the galaxy instead of conquering it. And now the most feared general in history was no longer fighting for the Dominion. She was fighting against it, beside the only human who had ever treated her like a person instead of a weapon. The battle began moments later. And across the galaxy, leaders slowly realized the terrible truth. Forcing a human to marry their deadliest general was the worst mistake they had ever made.